What's going on, Jet fans? Most of us want Quan Alexander to be re-signed by the New York Jets. So I'm beating that drum again, but I'm beating that drum with some new data. So I saw this graph floating around, some nerd stats on the defensive side of the ball, EPA plus minus. This is essentially calculating on a per play basis how many points is a defensive player worth. And the football nerds have spoken, and Quan Alexander in 2022 takes away 17 hundredths of a point every single snap he was out there in 2022. And not an expert, but I did study physics at the University of Buffalo, and my 5-year-old Android still does have a working calculator on it. So if we multiply that by the number of snaps he played for the year and then divide that by 17 games, essentially, this graph is saying that Quan Alexander was worth about 1.8 points per game, which is obviously massively significant. Now, you can cherry pick any stat that you want to make a point. And there's obviously variables you can't account for. Do I think Quan Alexander in a vacuum is necessarily worth 2 points per game? That's probably a little bit rich, but the point still stands that I think the biggest vulnerability of this Jets defense is the coverage up the middle. The pass rush is as good as it gets, the corners as good as it gets, but the coverage of CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Jordan Whitehead, Adrian Amos, all those guys have strengths of their game. Their strengths are hitting people in the mouth. Their strengths are not moving laterally and playing the ball, and they're not coverage players. And I think Quan Alexander, he's not the Pro Bowl coverage linebacker he once was, but his strength still is coverage. And if I had to wager this metric, the value that he's bringing here is most likely because he excelled as a coverage linebacker with the New York Jets. And you might say you're high on Jamie Sherwood. And to that, I would say, awesome. Awesome. Why not both? And you have a competition in camp. And if Jamie Sherwood beats him out, you want that. You want the young player to win the job. And then Quan Alexander is a slightly overpaid linebacker number 4. That to me is a better scenario than Jamie Sherwood doesn't work out. And then you're shaky in your linebacker core. Furthermore, if CJ Mosley, who suffers an injury, has to miss a couple games, Jamie Sherwood steps in for him, and then Quan steps in for Sherwood. So look, we're in a window. And if we were the Cincinnati Bengals and we knew that for the next 10 years, we're going to be in a Super Bowl window because we have a franchise quarterback who's 25 years old. Okay. I understand you have to develop young players and have them play roles eventually, but because we have 2 at the most 3 years to win the whole damn thing, I just don't want to leave any stone unturned. And I would sleep a lot better at night if we made a very modest investment, $2.5 million, maybe sweeten it up to 3 to bring in Quan Alexander. Speaking of Jamie Sherwood, he was one of the players that was on Paul Boy Green's buy list, players he is buying stock in for the 2023 season. You can check out both of our lists in a stream down below. We'll see you there. We'll talk all soon.